Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with two fabulous film scores on one CD, complete for the very first time since their original filming. Virgil Thomson's two political documentary scores to The Plough That Broke the Plains and The River. Now, hitherto, this music has been known basically as suites drawn from the complete films, including a wonderful recording of them on Vanguard by Stokowski. But the original full film scores are just splendid. And one of the wonderful things about this particular disc, which features the Post-Classical Ensemble, conducted by Gil-Ordoñez, and masterminded by Joseph Horowitz, is that you can also get DVDs of the complete documentaries with the music attached, which is really quite cool to see. I've seen them, and they are wonderful documentaries for what they are. Both of them were shamelessly designed to promote the New Deal. The Plough That Broke the Plains was made in 1935-36, I think, actually, and The River followed a year later or so. But they were designed to deal with America during the Depression. And in particular, The Plough That Broke the Plains was about the Dust Bowl. And for those of you who aren't up on your American history, the Dust Bowl is what happened when the Midwest was overfarmed because of, single crop agriculture. And, the buffalo had been wiped out, and the Indians were on their reservations, and farmers were speculating like crazy, and people were buying up property, and then there was an enormous drought on top of the depression. There was the economic depression, and then there was a drought, and then as a result of all this over-farming and soil erosion, which was really the result of it all, the topsoil just blew away in huge clouds of dust, and vast swaths of the Midwest were depopulated as a result. Farmers were starving, people were trying to find work and places where they could live and farm, and it was just a complete disaster. And in the midst of it stepped the Roosevelt administration trying to make the case for government intervention and land management practices, because this being the United States, especially in the 30s, nobody wanted to hear from the government. People wanted to do whatever they damn well pleased. And the result of what they damn well pleased was an absolute catastrophe. The River is similar, but not quite as drastic in that it's a portrait of life along the Mississippi River, making the case for flood control, for a system of dams and levees to try and channel the river so that it doesn't flood and destroy your community and your livelihood in the process. But it's also, it's a travel log. I mean, these are about 30 minutes long each. Or thereabouts. I mean, the whole disc is 55 minutes for all the music on it. And it's just the most wonderful music. It's a snapshot of everything that American music had in it in the mid-1930s, because Thomson draws on everything. There's folk music, there's religious music, there's jazz, there's blues. It's just this wonderful tapestry of all the kinds of music. Thomson was a composer in the French style. He was a French style like Poulenc was, so his music is eclectic in the best sense. He just takes everything from everywhere and slams it all together, and it all comes out with this wonderful, honest, sincere, homespun, unpompous, totally it's French in its style. That is, it's a little insouciant, sometimes a little bit sly and witty. It's absolutely wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful film scores. These, were nominated for like Pulitzer Prizes and things. I mean, Thomson's music for these two films is widely considered his finest orchestral work, and I wouldn't disagree, just in terms of how much is in it and how well it's put together. And it's wonderfully performed by the Post-Classical Ensemble under Angel Gil-Ordoñez. And boy, oh boy, I love this disc. I mean, and they're not your typical Hollywood-esque film scores. Not at all. They are documentary film scores. They're absolutely perfect for the subject matter. And I do want to point out that also coming out quite shortly, although the DVD has been out for a while in this series, the Sylvester Revueltas' score to Redes, Nets, another sort of political movie, is going to be released. The film score will be released. The movie came out a while ago with a new version of the score. And that's, oh my goodness, is that marvelous as well. That's absolutely a masterpiece in its way as well. So I'm delighted that Naxos is doing these things. We should all be thrilled that Joe Horowitz has been behind this push to try and revivify these wonderful highways and byways of the American classical music tradition that too often get overlooked or dismissed. His new book on the prophecy of Dvorak and how African American music was treated by the establishment is also quite wonderful, by the way. It's how America kept classical music white, even though there were some very, very gifted African American composers who came in the wake of Dvorak's prediction that that's where American music should come from. And of course, Dvorak was right. And of course, all the white folks ignored him. So that's a whole nother story, isn't it? But this, oh my, we have this. And I want to play you a couple samples. I mean, I have to play you the blues number here. It's so wonderful. It's Speculation from the Plough that broke the plains. And it is such a wonderfully sardonic musical portrait of what speculation did to the land. It's a blues number, and as bluesy as blues can be. So here it is. You gotta love it. I mean, it really have made that documentary go down easy. And the river is, like I said, it's a little bit less dire in what it shows, but no less beautiful and magisterial. And it's the variety of life along the side of the river. You've got, what have we got here? We've got the first forest, and we've got cotton pickers and ruins and logging and coal and floods and tenancy. I mean, how many people write a 3-minute track of movie music called Tenancy and do it with such aplomb? I mean, that was Virgil Thomson. But I just want to play you A Big River is the name of this track. And it's not the Moldau, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's more a description of the spiritual component, if you want to call it that. It's not literal, but it is musically wonderful, and that's the point. So here is A Big River. So once again, that was Angel Gil-Ordoñez, or Gil-Ordoñez, or something like that. A wonderful conductor with the Post-Classical Ensemble in the world premiere recordings of the complete film scores to Virgil Thomson's The Plough That Broke the Plains and The River on Naxos, the brainchild of Joseph Horowitz. Just wonderful productions. All of these things are in this series. And I really urge you to get it and enjoy it as much as I have. It's terrific stuff. So keep on listening, folks. Thanks for joining me. Take care.